Oh, it's a picture. It's me. Okay, go live. I'm live. I'll believe it when I see the picture. Anytime. There's me. Okay. Oh, it's working. Thank goodness. Okay, let's go back here. Hey, howdy, hey, friends and neighbors. Scott here in my attic, our newly basically finished attic. We worked on a lot of this. We had a neighbor help us work on this, and then we did a lot of it ourselves too. Nice custom designer gaps in those panels. That was me. That was me. I did those. It's nice. And it's really hot up here. It's just really hot in this attic. It wasn't bad, 15 minutes ago when I started setting up for the live stream. But then as I had to wrestle with the computer more and more, I'm going to have a nice sheen on me. So I may have to do these live streams in the mornings before it gets hot up here. This is my first live stream up here. I'm trying to gradually upgrade what I'm doing. It's been slow going, figuring out the software. I used to be real tech savvy, and then I just let that go at some point. But figuring out the software, getting the hardware, everything to agree. And as far as I know, I sound like a chipmunk to you because I've had to work on that with my microphone too. But we're here, and we're going to talk about 3 pretty yellow flowers and how they can help you survive the zombie apocalypse. Each one has some kind of a use. Okay. Ooh. Yeah, it's hot. There's been a dirt dauber around here too. It's my little buddy. I think I'll name him Rick. Now, if everything works, there we go. Hey, I've got a background. The first one we're going to talk about is Black-Eyed Susan. I gave away my mutant one first. This is my little mutant Black-Eyed Susan I found on a jog. I guess I'll go ahead and talk about it. This is not what they normally look like. That one up at the top of the screen, that's what they normally look like. This one in the middle, something happened to it. It just wasn't quite right. It was a hot dog, a hot dog-eyed Susan, snake-eyed Susan. That's what I should call it, a vertical slit. And it really had something going on there that was stretching out the center of that flower. Look at that. And the stem was real flat too. It was thin on one part, flat on another. That dirt dauber buzzing around. They're really not prone to sting. I've been around them a lot, and I've never been stung by one of those. They have a real skinny waist and then a fat booty. Watch this be the one day that I get stung. Have to turn the stream off early. Okay. Anyway, I found this guy while I was jogging. He was on the side of the road, and I really wanted to go back and get some seeds from him, just in case whatever that mutation was, just in case it was carried over, into the offspring. But the county came by with their weed cutting trucks and knocked the thing down. Poor little mutant. Poor little guy. Okay, here is what they should normally look like. No, this is what? What? This is all out of order. What's happening here? Okay, that's the mutant one. Sorry, everybody. I thought I had all this fixed. I have to come back to that. Come back to that. There we go. That's the real regular one. That's the Black-Eyed Susan. They're in the Asteraceae family, so they've got these long ray flowers at the edges. And they're a type of cone flower. Wow. Dude, I don't mind you flying around. Just don't buzz right in my face. It disturbs me. They're cone flowers related to Echinacea, and they're used a lot the same as Echinacea as well. They have immune stimulating properties. Now, I'm going to let you know, I've only played with these. I don't really use these seriously. I use Echinacea. Just about everybody uses Echinacea because it's just the really well known one. It's the popular one. But these have been used, historically by different peoples. They grow just about everywhere in the United States. I would venture to say that they grow in other continents, other countries as well. If nothing else, just people carrying them back and forth as they travel. They like sunny locations. You'll see them on the sides of roads. You'll see them in fields. I kind of stopped at the medicinal properties, right? So immune stimulating, and they're good for snake bites. They help with the pit viper's venom to keep the cells from breaking apart from each other. Oh, what do we use these for? Yeah, so is accounts that the root juice can be used for earaches. I've never tried that, not with echinacea either. Um, Apparently it works. I don't have any experience with that. I assume you would just, cut up and crush up the root and get the juice out and dropper it in, but I haven't tried that, so I'm not an authoritative source there. But the way you can use them, just like echinacea, you can chop up the root, kind of crush it up, and put it in a press and squeeze out the juices. Sorry, my kids are downstairs. If you want to get the juice, or chop them up real fine, mash them up to make just a pulpy mess, and you can use it as a poultice. Some people use the leaves too. Although I haven't done a real, in-depth practice with these, I kind of get the feeling that the echinacea probably is stronger, so you would probably use more of the black-eyed Susan than you would of echinacea. But that may be my ignorance talking too. Anything else? Anything I didn't mention? I got notes. Here with my puzzles I like to play with. Roots and leaves, yeah. Yeah, also, one of the reasons I think it may be a little less potent, with echinacea, when you dig it up, if you chew on the root, it's kind of zingy and tingly on your tongue. And maybe I just haven't got an old enough, strong enough plant, but when I've experimented with that with these, I didn't get that zingy feeling, which is part of what gives me the impression that they may not be as potent. They have real coarse, hairy texture on them, the leaves and the stems. And they have a sort of a broader leaf. Here they are with some, that's not exactly going to be an oxeye daisy, but it's some kind of daisy growing in there. Just on the side of the road, I just stopped and took a picture. And these, at the casual glance, might be something that you could mistake for Coreopsis. That's another yellow flower with a dark center. Coreopsis, oh man, also it's in the Asteraceae family. So, I mean, there's a reason that they look similar. I mentioned it's hot up here, right? Yeah? Coreopsis, Tickseed, golden Tickseed, there's a bunch of these. I don't know that they're all edible. So the cone flowers are pretty much medicinal. You could probably do something where you eat them, but I don't know of it, not off the top of my head anyway. Coreopsis is more of a coffee substitute. You can dry the top parts, all the above ground parts, and you can make, well, they call it a coffee substitute. I really think it's more like a tea. It's not caffeinated. Someday we are going to do our North American caffeine plant, the Yopon Holly, because when the zombies hit and you can't get the coffee, unless you're pushing the zone, I hope you've read your David the Good literature so that you know how to grow your own coffee. But assuming you don't have a coffee plant, we got to talk about that sometime. Live streams, sketchy as all get out. Just ramble. Okay, Coreopsis, that's the genus. I don't know that they're all edible, but I think that this is Coreopsis what's the scientific name? I think this one is. Yeah, Coreopsis tinctoria. If it's not, this is still one of the edible ones. It looks like tinctoria to me. It's another really common plant, grows all over the U.S., probably in other countries as well, I'm just not sure. And from a distance, or to the casual observer that hasn't played around with these plants, they can look very similar. They're both bright, happy yellow plants with sort of a maroon center. On the black-eyed Susan, the center raises up as in a cone, because it's a cone flower. These don't raise up. They're I mean, there's like a little bit of a bump, but it's flat. They're also smaller, and their stems are much thinner, and the leaves are much finer. They're almost like hair-like, if you can see them on the picture. The little, let's see if I have another one here. Yeah, here's a closer up one. You can see the leaves. They're sort of grass-like, maybe, the little bitty leaves. And now, medicinally, yeah, they're supposed to be used for some kind of female issues, I think. I've never used those with anybody. I don't really have any experience with that, so you may want to listen to a different source for that. Supposedly, they're used for female issues. I don't have any practical experience working with anybody on that. Um, but I have drunk them as a tea. Um, you can dry them, or you can. I've used them fresh, but you can dry them. If you just use the flower, that makes more of a brownish tea. If you just use the leaf, it makes more of a greenish tea. And they each have their own taste. The flowers maybe a little more bitter. Or am I reversing that? No, I think the flower is a little more bitter. They're neat. It's neat to play around with. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite drink. Or herbal tea to go to, but it's just fun to experiment with. If you find these, they're nice, happy little plants. They're really abundant, so they're not going to go extinct if you harvest a bunch of them. And it's just something to try out. They have real thin stems. They're smooth, not hairy. So the texture is different. I believe I have a comparison picture. Yeah, here. On the left, that's the coreopsis. See how thin it is, how the leaves are very thin, and it's a smooth texture. On the right is those are the black-eyed Susans, which have a much wider leaf. I mean, it's not a super wide leaf, but compared to the coreopsis, it is. And they have a really rough texture. And those are those two. So, for your zombie survival, the black-eyed Susan, that's what you would want to use for your injuries and your wounds. The coreopsis is what you want to use when you're just tired of drinking water and you want something that tastes different than plain water. And now let's go back to our third one that got out of order. Here we go. This is a type of buttercup, ranunculus, isn't it? Yeah, ranunculus. This is scleratus, known as cursed buttercup. Real locally, right around here, some of us call daffodils buttercups, but that's generally buttercup refers to these. They're weeds in pastures where you have like cows or something. The cows don't really want to eat them because I assume they're real bitter or acrid or something nasty. Generally speaking, buttercups, things in the ranunculus genus, are not edible. I think there's a few that with some extreme processing you can probably eat, but I've never put in that work. And they're not easy on your digestion anyway. This particular one is called a cursed buttercup. I always thought this would make a great plant to review around Halloween, a cursed buttercup. But of course they're not blooming then. It's interesting because as the bloom develops, the leaves drop away and it just leaves sort of this pineapple-shaped thing. And I have been on the lookout for pineapple weed for I don't know how long. It's another real common plant that should be around here. I just never seem to bump into it. So if you live around me and you found some pineapple weed, let me know. And because of internet searches, I know that pineapple weed is also the name of a variety of marijuana. So your searches might lead you down a different path if you type in pineapple weed. But that's a chamomile plant. But the bloom itself looks kind of similar. The leaves look different. But I found in my yard, I came across this plant, and I knew that the leaves looked different, but I really wanted to make it be pineapple weed, So I got it and I tried to crush it and smell it. And of course, it didn't have any of the pineapple weed smell that it's supposed to. And it's cursed buttercup. Is that I looked up what species it was. And it's this one, and it's one of the more irritating of the buttercups, to where just the juices on your hands can cause blisters and irritation. So I had to go and wash my hands with soap real quick. But the leaves are real loby up around the top. You can see in the illustration there, up around the top, the leaves are much more thin. But then when you get down to the bottom, they're more like palmately lobed. Palmately is like a palm. This plant, I'm sure there's some medicinal application, but I don't know what it is. I would not try to make this one an edible, even with heavy boiling. It might be a plant that you can use to devise some sort of, poison or booby trap, some type of contact poison. I'm not endorsing poisoning people. We're talking about survival zombie apocalypse scenarios. Not just you're angry at your neighbor and you want to get back at him. But other than that, I don't I don't think there are very many uses for the sorry, for the cursed buttercup, um, outside of perhaps making a poison. If I am not a poisoner, I'm a forager. I'm an herbalist. I am not a poisoner, so I don't have experience making poisons. If I was going to make a guess, and it would be a guess of how you would use this, assuming that you had a extraordinary circumstance where you had a legitimate, you know, valid need to create a poison out of it, I would think probably you would just want to get the juices. You would chop it up, mash it up, and then put it in a press and collect the juices. And I I don't think I don't think this would be a lethal plant. But but I mean, for goodness sakes, don't say, oh, it won't hurt them to try it on somebody. It'll be a prank. It won't be lethal, and then they would have a reaction and die, and then you would feel terrible, and I would feel terrible, and the government would also feel terrible toward us. So let's not do that. But assuming you had a valid extenuating circumstance, something like that, I guess. Um, okay, let's jump off of that topic before something bad happens. Before that's making me uncomfortable. Um, hey, soon let's talk about making marshmallows. Not today. I'm going to wrap it up today. I'm about to lose 8 pounds by sweating water out, and I wanted this to be a short one. I think I've rambled on. Oh, quite a while. Yeah, about 17 minutes. But pretty soon, let's make homemade marshmallows out of marshmallow root. It's pretty easy and it's fun, and they taste pretty good too. These in the picture are just your plain marshmallows, but I think we'll make some chocolate marshmallows next time. So, I'm going to try to get this wrapped up. Until next time, I want you to keep your eyes out for plants and for zombies. And happy foraging. And we're going to end that stream.